I don't know if the man likes hot dogs or not, but I figured I'd jump on here because I haven't done it live here in quite some time. And I just wanted to come on here and talk to you a little bit about the Wes Watson civil suit, talk to you a little bit about Derek Lunsford crying about being heckled by Nick Walker fans, talk to you about Sauce Harati finally wins a show. He tried like 6 or 7 times, and also talk to you about whatever else comes up. So, the Wes Watson civil trial, I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but apparently he missed the deadline to answer the civil complaint. The 7-foot monster is suing him and Elevation Fitness on a variety of counts. And they're also suing Dumb Nick. Now, Dumb Nick is the Ophi guy. There's also Mr. Fuji, who has not been sued, but may get sued at some point. But isn't it interesting that Wes hired a high-profile criminal defense attorney, but yet did not take care of business on the civil side? Now, a lot of people will say that because he didn't respond, there's going to be a default judgment against him, and there may already be one. We saw the clerk sign. It's interesting that the clerk would sign a default judgment. I would think the judge would, but in any event, it raises some interesting questions because is he going to take the civil case seriously? Because again, if he does get a judgment, it would behoove the plaintiff's counsel to put liens on whatever he owns. Now, I believe Florida's got a homestead exemption, so they may not be able to put a lien on the house, but I don't think he actually has a house in his name because the houses that he supposedly owns, some people have said are Airbnbs, they're rentals, they're leases, they're timeshares, or like the case with the car when he got stopped, the car wasn't in his name. He was supposedly just test driving it. And we heard the audio where the Miami Police Department police officer was talking to the car dealership, and they were saying, no, title's transferred. It's just some sort of a clerical error. Don't worry. Just please let him drive away in the car that's not in his name. The police officer said, hell no, that's not happening. And so, a lot of these guys, and these guys meaning, con artists, ex-cons, people that are trying to skirt underneath the radar of the IRS and under the radar of maybe, I don't think he's married, but a lot of times, one spouse will hide income from the other, hide properties from the other, hide debts and liabilities from the other. It's not that uncommon. Whatever the case may be, if the guy doesn't have a nickel to his name, if he doesn't have equity in a home, if he doesn't have car titles in his name, if he doesn't have bank accounts with any kind of money in there, then there's really nothing to put liens and levies on because nothing's in his name. But at the same time, I think that the plaintiff's counsel, would be, probably wise to have a forensic audit done of what this guy actually has. Because again, look, there's a difference between what's said on social media and what's said under oath, be it a written interrogatory, a written pleading, a deposition, or a hearing. So Wes getting on here and saying that he makes $2 million a month, if he's not making $2 million a month, so what? But the difference there being that if they ever get him under oath to provide documentation of what he owns and what assets he has, if he lies there, that's a whole different story. That's why when Angel Bajana, one of the owners of Elevation Fitness, on New Year's Day, right around there, went on the Strength Addicts page and said, I know how this works. Whatever I say on social media, I say in court. I would love for him to try to do that because he would essentially be committing perjury. And in Florida, when you intentionally commit perjury, that's a felony. So I highly doubt that Angel Bajana will be uttering any lies like he did on social media, but it's an interesting situation because it makes you wonder, is Wes really as rich as he says he is, or is it all an illusion? And I think that he is rich. I just don't know how rich he is. And I'm sure that, he's going to hide whatever money he's got as best as he can. The question is, how long is that going to work for him? Because if he is found guilty of felony battery and he's sentenced to the pokey, and then he gets a massive civil judgment against him, and I could see a judge, not just giving compensatory damages, but also giving pretty substantial punitive damages. And a punitive damage is basically damages ordered by a judge to punish a certain kind of behavior, but also to put a certain kind of individual on notice. So, for example, you've got an ex-con jailbird that has made his living by glamorizing time in prison, who beats people up, 5, 6 on 1 using weight training belts and dumbbells, kicks them while they're on the floor while dropping N bombs, and is a social media superstar commanding millions of views, being interviewed on various podcasts and being approached by Hollywood celebs and people wanting to become better men and so on and so forth. A judge might so be inclined to say, you know what, I'm going to make an example out of this guy so that the next ex-con jailbird that thinks to come to South Florida to make their money off of terrorizing the community is going to think twice about it and maybe instead go to Alabama or Timbuktu or go fuck yourself somewhere else, but not South Florida. And they can do that. And also, any jury that sees, if they have a jury trial, they may not have a jury trial, they may have a bench trial, but I would imagine that they would want a jury trial. And when they do voir dire and they put the jury, they impanel the jury, they're going to want to have a nice assortment of folks, tall people, short people, white people, black people, you know what I mean? And they're going to see that video and they're going to see Wes Watson. And they're going to know that Wes Watson, because Wes Watson tells the world that he rose to the ranks of shot caller in a white prison gang in California. And he's going to talk about the wood pile and all that. And, juries don't have to be, the inventors of the Rubik's Cube. A jury could have the education of a sixth grader, which is, still pretty good. You know what I mean? They can reason, they can add and subtract, but most importantly, they can listen. And when they go back and they deliberate, they're going to deliberate based on the evidence. They're going to deliberate based on what they saw. And what they're going to see is a video of Wes Watson and 4 or 5 other people ganging up on a guy, kicking him and punching him while he's on his knees, crying, trying to cover his eyes and begging for them to stop. They're going to probably see Wes Watson's extensive social media catalog where he talks about the fact that he was a prison gang shot caller. They're going to see how he belittled that man on that panel discussion where he basically, humiliated someone because of the way that they look. Now, imagine if in the jury you've got some chubby people. They're probably not going to like that. The black people, they're probably not going to like that. The white people that are hopefully not racist, they're not going to like that. You know what I mean? And then the working people, the people that actually have to go out and work for a living, that actually sweat and they have back pain when they get home. They're going to look at this bum and they're going to say, wow, here's a guy who's driving around in a Bugatti, who lives in a mansion, who's got a runway model girlfriend, and he's pissing on everybody that goes out there and works for a living because if they don't look jacked and all tatted up like him, they don't matter. So again, this guy, is continuously digging himself deeper in a hole. And honestly, we don't see any change in him at all. So that's the other thing too. I mean, what he did in the past is not necessarily going to help convict him of this crime, but what he did in the past is certainly not going to be ignored either. I mean, this guy, by his own admission, is an ex-con. He's a felon, and he glamorizes violence. And Elevation Fitness, they knew all along what was happening, and they did nothing about it. Even after the video came out, the excerpt of the video, the clip of the video, they tried to perpetuate a lie. And Angel Bajana, an owner of the gym, went on social media on Strength Addicts and lied. Talked to John Bravo on the phone and lied. And so that shows bad faith. It shows that they don't have clean hands, and it shows that it took the entire social media world to turn on the gym before they finally kicked Wes and his goons out. And so there's negligence there, up and down. And so again, whether it's Elevation Fitness, whether it's Dumb Nick, or whether it's Wes Watson, someone's going to pay for that man's injuries. And that man may have PTSD. That man may have, because now the whole world knows him as a guy that got beaten up by Wes Watson and his gang. But he's got nothing to hold his head down about. It was never a fair fight. And he didn't even go there to fight. He went there to fight one-on-one, but what ended up happening was a gang beatdown. I mean, there's no dishonor in getting your ass kicked by 5 or 6 guys wielding weapons. I mean, they fought dirty. They're punks. And I think it's ironic that Wes Watson is selling, male betterment programs, trying to teach males how to be men when he himself is a horrible example of that. But I don't know. Does Wes Watson love hot dogs? I don't know. But where he's going, he's going to be getting a lot of them hot dogs, I think. Yeah.